I'm coming really out of left field with this video. You guys are going to really love what I have in store for you today. I'm going to go through the 4 different products that are currently in beta form in the Illuvium ecosystem. I'm going to go through the pros and the cons. And as you probably noticed in the title, I mentioned that this is going to be the most bullish video you ever watch on Illuvium. I'm going to explain why as I go through it, so make sure you stick around. And if you really enjoy the video, you get some value out of it, don't forget to like down below. We're going to jump straight into it. First, we've got Illuvium. Now, this is one of the more contentious products in the ecosystem, so I don't know how you guys are going to feel about what I'm going to say, but if you disagree, if you agree, let me know in the comments. That goes for all of these. So I'm doing pros and cons on each of these things, and they're going to get more detailed as I go. Illuvium is going to start off slow, but firstly, pros is the albums. Now, love it or hate it, or think it's a game or not, or whatever you want to say about it, it is actually a really fantastic product that hones in on the innate ability humans have to want to collect things, and it does a really good job with it. Now, it does need to be fleshed out more, but at the moment, this is the sort of thing that many projects in the space, especially NFT and Web3 projects, just don't have this, and they don't have it in such a high level quality that Illuvium does. But the con is the no utility proposition. Now, you can argue that the albums are a utility in themselves, but until Illuvium Beyond has some sort of card game in the future, it is always going to be missing something, similar to how Pokemon cards wouldn't be as successful as they were without competitive Pokemon and the general Pokemon IP and all the rest of it. But why I think this is a bullish video for Illuvium is every single one of these cons, and you guys can make your own judgments on that in the future, I feel like they're going to be solved in the future, and there are already plans to do so. So what we're going to do is going to wipe out any of the negativity out of Illuvium, and eventually it's become the best product it can be. Now, this might take 3 years, this might take 5, but I truly believe that. So as for the cons, in this case, the ETH Lizards and Annie at the helm is currently working on something called Battle in the Beyond. And this is going to be a disc opening sort of thing where you can battle. I don't know what the rewards or anything is going to be, but it's going to be a really interesting addition to the ecosystem. And they might not be the only one doing something like that. It's all on chain. The discs and the Illuvium, they're really predictable. You can make games out of it. Not to mention, Aaron has mentioned plans, even on my channel before, about building some sort of card game for Illuvium Beyond. So let's move on to the next one. Illuvium Zero. You know, this is one of my personal favorites. For anyone that doesn't know, it's a city builder simulator sort of game that you can play on the mobile phone inside the Illuvium ecosystem and earn, when the game launches, you'll be able to earn fuel. So let's start with the cons on this one. No PvP. Now, we know that they have plans for something like this in the distant future. This is going to be one that's eventually going to be rectified, but I don't think it holds back the overall premise of the game. The no end game one is probably the big con here. What I think is blueprints solve this. No end game is really, it doesn't have any gacha elements. It doesn't have reasons for you to keep coming back. Once you've gotten all the buildings, you've upgraded everything. Even with Clash of Clans, they have trying to get on top of the leaderboard or trying to unlock all the cosmetics. We don't have that yet with Illuvium Zero, but as blueprints come into fruition in the open beta, it will become a much, much better product very, very quickly, as you will have something to continuously be doing every day. The pros are it's very engaging. It's very easy to come back every day, twice a day, and do something on your plot of land and really feel like you're making progress. I feel like that can be quite easy to miss for some games, but they're doing everything right in that regard. And the other pro is that it's mobile. Given no other games in the ecosystem at the moment are mobile, it's definitely a big win to have at least one mobile product on the list. So next is Illuvium Arena, all right? Now, I'm specifically talking about survival mode because that is the beta that's currently out. And if you guys want me to do one of these videos again, leave a comment saying that, and I will do that when PvP is out and other betas and things like that, and we can talk about it again. Now, the cons for the Illuvium Arena is it's highly repetitive and there's no progression. And what do I mean by that is highly repetitive is the AI starts to get a bit predictable to a point and you can kind of hit the same waves pretty consistently. But more importantly, when you have one deck to use for that entire day, it just feels bad. It doesn't incentivize you to play more than once during that day, and the leaderboard is somewhat of a great competitive incentive, but it's just not quite enough to encourage and eliminate that repetition. The other thing is that there's no progression. Now, this kind of extends into the same area, but basically you can't use your own alluvials, you can't level them up, you can't get to know different things, and then there's no progression. You're not really improving as you continue to play. Now, maybe you can get to later waves, but you hit that kind of cap or that skill cap very quickly, and then there's not really anywhere to go from there, and this is kind of where PvP would come in. Now, the pros are it is highly cinematic. It's one of the best looking AAA games, not just in Web 3, but in Web 2 and in the strategy genre in general. It does a fantastic job, and the other thing is it's highly strategic. Now, although it's going to get even more strategic when things like PvP come, it's got a lot of elements in that simplexity thing that Aaron likes to call it that are actually working really well in my opinion. Now, it's not perfect, but it is quite highly polished, and it's one of the best games you'll find in the strategy genre. I've played a lot of them, and I'm probably quite biased here, but I think they've done a really good job, and as I said, it's not yet perfect. Illuvium Overworld Private Beta 2. Let's get into it. So the cons are there's no NFTs. Now, normally that wouldn't bother me, but there is definitely something about you're playing this game and eventually it's all going to get wiped. That really does kill the motivation to play, the motivation to get involved. And it also kills all those flex factor and all the economic side games that you can play with something like Illuvium Overworld. Now, I'm not necessarily saying you should go and flip the market, but that was one of my favorite things to do in Guild Wars 2. And the fact that this is missing that so far is just, it's just how it is. With that being said, like with all these other things, this is just going to come in the open beta, and then the game is just going to be that much better, and all these cons are being converted into pros. And that is why this is so bullish for Illuvium. The other thing is it can feel quite slow. Now, I will say that between Private Beta 1 and Private Beta 2, they doubled the speed, in my opinion, with the way they algorithmically changed up where ores spawn and that sort of stuff. They really improved it, but at the moment it still does feel a little bit slow. But as they add things like plants that interact with you, quest lines, all that sort of stuff, it will feel a lot more directed and the narrative will be a lot more controlled, and it just won't feel as slow anymore. The pros are it's unique. What I mean by that is the diversity of the regions for one thing, but these assets used in the game. Now, you can say what you want about graphics don't make good gameplay and all the rest of it, but believe me, you will really start to notice once you've played enough of these Unreal Engine games that they all use the same assets library and they all feel the same. And the unique feeling of when you're going in the overworld is something that is going to be unmatched by other developers. That's the sound, effects, lighting, the different environments, and then what will come into it is probably the lore as well. So all of that makes a great IP, which I'm getting into right now. It makes a strong IP with strong character building, strong, interesting creatures and things like that that inhabit these worlds. And that's the sort of stuff that makes a AAA game onto the level where lots of people can recognize it easily at a glance. And that's going to carry Illuvium into the future very, very well. The next 3 to 4 years at least. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. I hope you learned something about Illuvium and some details you might not really have given that much thought. Again, if you have, if you disagree with me in any of this, leave a comment down below. If you appreciated this video and you want more people to see it, don't forget to share it with them and tell them that it's going to really change their whole perspective on Illuvium. I really appreciate it, guys. Have a good day.